The real difference between what we do with semi-private and what other gym softwares do for semi-private is that in other gym softwares, it's actually called small group. And as you know, small group is no different than group. Because of that, the way the calendar booking system works, you can have that, is if I want to have a group class, I have it at 5 o'clock. I book and block out that 5 a.m. time slot. I'll block out 5 a.m. on maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, throughout the entire week. And I always can do blocks. And if I put a block there, I have to associate how many people can actually come to that small group, which is no different than a group class. They just reduce the number of people in attendance. So now you have these blocks throughout your day. Well, when you do semi-private training, you don't create a block. What you do is you say, I'm going to sell semi-private to you because it's lower cost than private and it's more affordable for you. So that person taking semi-private, well, they still want your time kind of in a private time block way, which is not group class. Private training says, me as a client, I'm going to ask you if I can come train at 5 p.m. or 5:15 p.m. And you say, sure, as long as I can get everybody else that's in the semi-private together to come train at 5:15 p.m. So now as the coach and the other client, they're all trying to coordinate a time slot. It's not a predetermined time slot. It's a time slot that I can move today at 5:15.
You're talking about the
semi-private.
How the other ones have it.
No. The way that we have it is We're giving you the opportunity to talk to your clients and let your clients work out the time slot. And if you let clients work out the time slot, you're never consistent with the same time slot every week, Monday through Friday. It's not a small group class. It's not a big group class. You're not blocking out a set time throughout the entire week. What you're doing is you're saying, hey, Jody, Debbie, Rhonda, are you guys all okay at 5:15? No, I only can do 5:30. They're back and forth with each other until they find a time slot. Once they find a time slot, they book it with you. No different than a private session. Now you have the opportunity to book with 3 people on a semi-private whenever you're available. If you find that I got my privates done throughout the day, and I can bring you in today at, say, 6:30 p.m. That's the simplicity of it, is I can always go and adjust my time slot like I would in my Google Calendar. It's that easy. I don't have to have a whole setup, right? Create a whole settings for my class that's happening on these days. And then on this other day, you're going to have a different instructor, right? So you can truly set it like a private session, just with fewer people. And that's the whole purpose of a semi-private, right? Is more flexibility with the coach. In a group class setting, you don't have that flexibility. It's just a time block. That's it. So we give a ton of flexibility on that. And if I, let's say, have on my personal calendar, say I allow myself to be available at like 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. every day, just for semi-private. Or I can be available in my calendar for private from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. as well. Right? So then if somebody books in a 5 p.m. slot with me and they're a semi-private client, well, guess what? Now that 5 p.m. slot is only reserved for anybody else who has semi-privates. And if somebody else books that time slot as a private session at 5, well, they're the sole person that gets that time slot. Now, as a semi-private client, I got to go book 6. Right? Are you understanding how that all comes together? Because it really creates a lot of flexibility for the coach. And then they can also...
And the coach always gets a flat rate, regardless how many people show to the class?
It depends. It depends. There's a few different ways to compensate someone for that, right? You can give them a percentage like you always would. So now it's 3 people paying a price and you're getting that same percentage always. You can set it up, it's per client that shows up. You can set it up as a base plus a fee per client or just a flat.
And Buzops, you can do that.
You can do all of
that. You can set up all the...
You can do all that. The vision for
all
Buzops,
those ways to pay in the trainer.
And the true goal for Buzops is to be in a position, because we have this with our affiliate program, and that's a fantastic way to grow your own business, right? Let your let your staff, let your best customers who advocate for you become your sales force. They're out there just hitting the ground, putting it on their Instagram, their Facebook feed. You got little influencers in your market. It's a perfect way to use them. Let them become an affiliate and sell certain services that you have so you can boost revenue without spending any money. Right? So that's one component. But because we built that affiliate program, we created it in a way so that way we can link up with via Zelle or to pay your bank. So if I have affiliates that are coming in through the system, they get paid automatically. You can set it for immediate, every 15 days out on net in case somebody has chargebacks, right? So you got to be thinking about that. How are you going to let your affiliates make money if chargebacks are coming in the door? So based on that entire platform, we said, well, you know what? If we're going to make things so easy to pay affiliates, why don't we make it so easy to pay staff?
What would you say to someone that, let's say, goes to another gym software and they did not have that? And then the people at the gym software tell them like, oh, that's not a problem. We're going to build for that. We can build for that. How long do you think it will take, whatever other gym software, time-wise, to build something as robust as what we have in Buzops right now with the semi-private and the affiliates?
Well,
so then they realistically, they will know like really how
long it
because
takes.
I know that, yeah.
So
I know it's not an easy task.
if somebody will just use MindBody as an example, great company, been around for a while, right? They were, in that pioneer stage of kind of growing with ABC in the forefront of them. But if somebody like that were to say, I'm going to go ahead and create that, they've got board members, they've got people that are controlling the company or have interest in the company, because actually for MindBody, they are selling stock shares of their company. So first they got to get everybody on board to approve it.
Right. Did they go public?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are public.
So, and maybe you don't have to get the whole board to approve certain changes, but the reality is that it's a bigger organization. It's a bigger ship. It's harder to move. They're not as nimble as they once used to be. So that's fighting against them, right? If somebody says, I want to go do this. But then the second thing is if you're wanting to elevate your technology, you got to make sure everything that you're plugging into that you built up over all these years, the foundation, that technology plays well together, right? And if you don't know that it plays well together, you have bugs or problems in your system because they don't speak well in two different languages, right? What is it like already speaking English or some other language and then trying to figure out another language and make sure everything makes sense, even today, right? So those are the forces that are going to cause other big, larger companies. Those are the forces that are going to kind of pin them to the ground a little bit. It's going to slow them down. But then you have the allocation of time and resources and money within your own organization to make that happen, right? So it takes time. It's not something that's like, okay, guess what? New idea, new function, new feature. Because then you got to test it all. You got to come up with every scenario. How is somebody going to press this button, that button, or which button in order? Right? You got to think about that. So that's costing you money as a company, and also potentially, depending on your bandwidth with resources, could slow your company down a little bit on making new sales or preserving the customers you do have. Right? So I think smaller companies have the ability to do that. And the smaller and more nimble you are, you're going to be in a position to really advance fast with technology. But if you're a small company with no money, it's going to be hard. But if you're a small company, you just keep trucking along because you've been spending your own money on this because that's what you believe in, probably move pretty quick. So I think that's the difference.
So what would you say about, because there was a reason why you created in Buzops the semi-private, and it's because
the interview now?
No, because I remember that you going on with Amar, like really trying to push to get this done, and it was because you back then you had the vision that where the industry is going is more lean towards.
Rocco, no.
it was more towards the semi-private personal training,
Well,
right?
now,
But
actually,
more like
it's all about integrated health. That's what I did. And
you were talking about back then with the whole thing with the semi-private and having all those functionalities there and all the flexibility and the way of doing it. Because you had the vision that the industry, and especially the personal training studios, to go more and adopting what it is. A small personal training, like a small group personal training, and the numbers of like just very small, like no more than 4 people, maximum 5, but really 4 people. You were always talking about that's where you saw the industry going in that sense.
what do you think about it?
And now you wanted to build all that, right? So can you...
Yeah. So the whole reason why we started this in the first place is I couldn't grow like I needed to with FMG. I had clients that wanted to train at that gym that needed sessions over at that gym, and I had trainers that were bouncing back and forth between locations. And each location, you had to know exactly where that client was and how to pay out that other gym. So you had the revenue model in both locations so you could share that information. But at the same time, you had places like F45 starting to open up, right? You had private, you had F45 in big group and these big boot camps that they would do. Well, what's missing? Mm-hmm. You have a whole category right here that's completely lost. Mm-hmm. And so then you started seeing smaller locations open up, right? They weren't these big studios with a ton of clients. What they were was smaller studios, right? You could take in maybe 30, started at 40, then 30 clients. Then you're looking down at these smaller size boot camps and then 8 and then 6. And then all of a sudden you start seeing, well, if I have this price point, which is like $400 a month, maybe on average for private training. And I have this price point that's like $10, $12 for huge groups. You had this price point in here that was like $30, $40, $50 per month that was missing. And you saw that with some of these groups, right? Or $30 a session to really squeeze it down to get closer to that. You're at $70 a session, right? Or $400 a month. So that's how things started. You knew it had to get filled at some point. And so that's the trend where it's starting to pick up, right? So it's always how do you move on to the next thing?
So some of the Buzops users that were like expressing to you their struggles trying to manage, like the small group setting for personal training, right? Can you tell me?
I mean,
like I remember that the whole process too with the semi-private and creating that flexibility there, and with so much specificity, but also talking so much flexibility as well for the gym owner, and also for them to be able to pay the trainers and all that. So, like, what were their struggles really? Well, because that still happens today to the ones that are still using those older systems, trying to, work around them to be able to manage this kind of offerings that they have. So
yeah, the real.
So what was the struggle in the use cases of the software, like in the way that they're doing it?
Well, it's not that the software companies having an issue with anything. The problem was that the gym owners had to manage how their day was going to work based on what kind of tool they had. So if the tool was a hammer and that's what they were being given, they had to figure out how they create a schedule with a hammer, right? So if the hammer doesn't do that job and you need something else to allow you the flexibility that you need to do, well, you probably need different tools. And a lot of gym software, they're all making hammers. So we started thinking about how can we make something different for the gym owners to work on the projects that they have.
Can you tell me one use case?
Yeah.
Like, for example, what happened there that they couldn't do it because they didn't have that, and then that's what I'm asking. Like,
yeah, it's switching. I mean, in some of my private sessions, you just have a small group of people. I mean, you're in a position where you can't, you're not best suited to block your time out because not every client wants that structure, right? Semi-private has more kinness to private training because private training is always working with the client to find a suitable time frame that they can come in and exercise, right? I want to exercise at 7 a.m. tomorrow, but then later on this week and we work at 8 a.m., right? That doesn't work when you have group classes. Group classes is like 7 a.m. We always at 7 a.m. just so everybody knows because there's so many people. Mm-hmm. Well, semi-private, it's like a little group. It's like going out to dinner with just 4 people at your table. It's a lot more intimate. Well, private training is, it's just 2 people, one-on-one. But semi-private, it's intimate enough where you can have conversations and you can collaborate as a unit to define the right time slots you want in a week. And then what happens if somebody doesn't show?
Yeah. So I can see like now, for example, the mom that drop the kids at school in the morning, right? That she works from home like me. And then in the morning you have that time, that 1 hour, let's say you want to have to personal training, but it's too expensive to have one personal trainer just for yourself. But you have your friends and you invited to play with you. Now it's affordable for all you. You guys have fun. Yep. And you have that super great attention from the trainer just for the 4 of you.
Yeah, and if one of them doesn't make it, like
they still have
it doesn't impact that one. They can still have, if they bought 10 semi-private sessions and only 2 made it, well, you're having semi-private. You may have.
So what is the trainer? Let's say, can they restrict the time if, let's say, only 3 people got to sign up for the slot and it's too small of a group that they don't do it? We can or even if it's just one person, they still will do it.
It depends. I mean, right now we don't have.
It depends on the owner of the gym.
Yeah, it depends on how they. Again, it's the flexibility, right? I mean, it's what do you want to do as a gym owner? How do you want to manage that? Right? Oh, you want to manage it like a big group class and be stuck in a block? Okay, well, go get the hammer. Right? I mean, no, you want to have all the tools in the toolbox. And if one of those tools isn't there, you can go to Home Depot and pick up that tool, come back, and now you can actually work on your project again. It's no different than giving us a call and saying, hey, this is what I need for my gym. This is how I function. Pretty awesome that we can implement that whatever project you need or whatever tool you need for your project, you can do it like that.
Yeah, as long as it makes sense for the gym owners too.
But usually we're in that position, right? If you're thinking that way, other gym owners are probably thinking that way. That's the philosophy we have. Right? Why be like, oh, well, you're an odd duck. You don't do that to people. Nobody else thinks like you. You're just you're in your corner. That doesn't happen usually. It might happen a little bit. Most of the time it doesn't, right? If there's something you need, it's why we're doing this.
Bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited though. That's for damn sure.